You're alone right now, and it's killing you. That silence in your apartment, that emptiness in your chest, that desperate need to reach for your phone just to feel something. You think loneliness is your enemy. You're wrong. Loneliness is trying to save your life. Most people spend their entire existence running from this feeling. They fill every second with noise, with notifications, with meaningless connections that leave them emptier than before. But you stayed alone, and that changes everything. Because in that unbearable silence, something is waiting for you. Someone you've been avoiding your entire life. Someone who holds every answer you've ever searched for. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Today, you're going to meet that person, and nothing will ever be the same. The escape artist. Think about your last 24 hours. How many times did you reach for your phone? How many times did you turn on the TV just for background noise? How many conversations did you start not because you wanted to talk, but because you couldn't stand the silence? We've become professional escape artists. The moment loneliness knocks on our door, we sprint in the opposite direction. We call it being social. We call it staying connected. We call it surviving. But here's what nobody tells you. Every time you run from loneliness, you're running from yourself. Every distraction is a betrayal of the one person who will be with you from your first breath to your last. The ancient Stoics understood this. They called it practicing poverty of stimulation. They would sit in empty rooms with nothing but their thoughts, not as punishment but as training. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and your soul has been dyed with the color of distraction. But what happens when the distractions run out? The void speaks. There's a moment that terrifies most people. It happens late at night when the notifications stop, when the Netflix show ends, when everyone else is asleep. Suddenly, you're alone with your thoughts, and they're not kind. They remind you of every failure, every regret, every dream you abandoned, every person who left. The void speaks, and it speaks the truth you've been hiding from. This is why most people fear loneliness more than death itself. Studies show that people would rather give themselves electric shocks than sit alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. We've become so afraid of ourselves that physical pain feels preferable to self-reflection. But what if I told you that this void, this terrifying emptiness, is actually a doorway? If this truth is resonating with something deep inside you, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of human wisdom with me. Because what comes next might be the most important thing you'll ever understand. The void isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to introduce you to someone. Meeting the stranger. Carl Jung spent 6 years in what he called his confrontation with the unconscious. Most people would call it a mental breakdown. He isolated himself, faced his darkest thoughts, and met parts of himself he never knew existed. What he discovered changed psychology forever. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. This is the secret that loneliness is trying to teach you. Behind all that pain, behind all that fear, there's someone waiting. The real you. Not the you that performs for social media. Not the you that says what others want to hear. Not the you that wears masks so heavy you've forgotten what your own face looks like. The real you. Most people live their entire lives without ever meeting this person. They're too busy being who they think they should be. Too terrified of what they might find if they stop pretending. But loneliness strips away the pretense. It removes the audience. And for the first time, you're forced to ask, who am I when nobody is watching? The teacher arrives. Here's what the great philosophers understood that we've forgotten. Loneliness isn't a problem to solve. It's a teacher demanding your attention. And this teacher has lessons that cannot be learned any other way. Think about the greatest thinkers in history. Nietzsche wrote his masterpieces in profound isolation. Buddha achieved enlightenment alone under the Bodhi tree. Jesus spent 40 days in the desert wilderness before beginning his ministry. Thoreau retreated to Walden Pond and emerged with wisdom that still resonates today. Solitude creates philosophers. These weren't accidents. These were prerequisites. The noise of the world drowns out the voice of wisdom. The constant chatter of others drowns out the whisper of your own soul. Loneliness creates the silence necessary to hear what your heart has been trying to tell you for years. In solitude, the mind gains strength and learns to lean upon itself. But most people never stay lonely long enough to receive the lesson. They run before the teacher can speak. The gift of emptiness. There's a concept in Eastern philosophy called emptiness. In the West, we fear it. We see emptiness as something to fill, a void to escape. But the Eastern sages saw it differently. Emptiness is not the absence of something. It's the presence of infinite possibility. A cup must be empty to be filled. A room must be cleared before it can be furnished. Your soul must experience emptiness before it can discover what truly belongs there. This is what loneliness offers you. It clears out the clutter. It removes the noise. It creates space for something authentic to emerge. In the emptiness, you discover what you actually want versus what you were told to want. Most people fill their emptiness with whatever is closest. Bad relationships, meaningless entertainment, addictions that numb rather than heal. But you have a choice. You can fill the emptiness unconsciously, or you can sit with it consciously until it reveals its treasure. The difference between those two paths determines the entire trajectory of your life. The crowd's curse. Here's a paradox that will haunt you. You can be surrounded by people and feel utterly alone. In fact, this is the most dangerous form of loneliness because it's invisible. You're at a party, laughing at jokes you don't find funny. You're in a relationship, sleeping next to someone who feels like a stranger. You're scrolling through hundreds of social media friends, yet you can't think of one person you could call at 3 a.m. Connected yet completely alone. This is what the philosopher Kierkegaard called the crowd that removes responsibility, the crowd that dilutes identity, the crowd that offers the illusion of connection while delivering the reality of isolation. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. Real loneliness, the kind where you're physically alone, at least has honesty. It doesn't pretend. It doesn't deceive. It confronts you with the truth. Something is missing. And that honest confrontation is the first step toward finding what you actually need. The alchemy begins. Ancient alchemists believed they could transform lead into gold. They failed, but they were onto something. The real alchemy isn't about metals. It's about the soul. And loneliness is the crucible where this transformation occurs. When you stop running from loneliness, something remarkable happens. The pain doesn't disappear, but it changes. It becomes fuel. It becomes information. It becomes the raw material for becoming who you were meant to be. Viktor Frankl discovered this in Auschwitz. He was stripped of everything: family, dignity, freedom. He was utterly alone in the midst of unimaginable horror. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. His loneliness didn't break him. It forged him. It gave him the insight that would help millions find meaning in suffering. Your loneliness contains the same potential for transformation. The question is whether you'll stay in the fire long enough for the alchemy to complete. Selective solitude. There's a critical distinction that changes everything. Loneliness versus solitude. They look the same from the outside, but they're completely different experiences. Loneliness is suffering the absence of connection. Solitude is choosing the presence of yourself. One is prison, one is freedom. The shift happens when you stop being alone against your will and start being alone by choice. When you stop fleeing your own company and start seeking it. When you transform loneliness from a sentence into a sanctuary. 1. Schedule time alone intentionally. 2. Remove distractions completely. 3. Sit with discomfort without escaping. 4. Ask yourself the questions you've avoided. This is what the mystics called sacred solitude, what the philosophers called the examined life, what the psychologists call integration. It's not about becoming a hermit. It's about becoming so comfortable with yourself that you never need another person to complete you. And paradoxically, that's when your connections with others become truly meaningful. The homecoming. There's a moment that makes the entire journey worthwhile. The moment you stop running and finally turn around to face yourself. The moment you look in the mirror and don't flinch. The moment you sit in silence and feel peace instead of panic. Homecoming. This is what all the great traditions point toward. The hero's journey that ends where it began, but with transformed eyes. The prodigal son returning home. The wanderer who discovers that what they sought was within them all along. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When you befriend your loneliness, you discover something extraordinary. You are your own home. You always were. You were just too busy knocking on other people's doors to realize it. The person you've been running from is the only one who can save you. And meeting that person, truly meeting them, is the most profound reunion possible. Not with another human being, but with yourself. The invitation. So here you are, still watching, still alone, but perhaps something has shifted. Perhaps you're beginning to see that your loneliness isn't a curse. It's an invitation to meet yourself, an invitation to discover what you actually believe when nobody is influencing you, an invitation to find the silence where wisdom speaks. In the unbearable silence, you finally meet the one person you've been running from your entire life. The world will keep offering you escapes, the notifications will keep calling, the distractions will keep multiplying, but now you know, now you understand. Loneliness is not punishment, it's preparation for a relationship with yourself that transforms every other relationship in your life, for a wholeness that doesn't depend on external validation, for peace that the chaos of the world cannot disturb. The question isn't whether you'll be lonely again. You will. The question is whether you'll run or stay, whether you'll see it as suffering or schooling, whether you'll waste it or alchemize it into gold. You came to this video feeling lonely. Perhaps you still do, but perhaps now you understand that this feeling was never your enemy. It was always your guide, pointing you toward the one relationship you cannot live without, the relationship with yourself. The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself. Tonight, when the silence returns, don't reach for your phone. Don't turn on the television. Don't text someone just to feel less alone. Instead, sit with it. Welcome it. Ask it what it's trying to teach you. Because in that silence, in that terrifying, beautiful emptiness, you'll find someone waiting. Someone who has always loved you. Someone who has always been there. Someone who is ready, finally, to be known. If you made it this far, comment homecoming to prove you're ready to meet yourself. The wisdom of the ages is yours. Use it well. If this unlocked something in you, subscribe for more.